I'm going to record now. Okay, can I welcome you to the Vale of Glamorgan Cabinet meeting on Monday the 5th of October. This is a remote meeting and everybody I think is present. Can I start with apologies for absence, but I don't think there are anybody looking around, so there are none. The next item is the minutes of the last meeting on the 21st of September. Can I have an indication of whether or not you agree it's a true record or not, please?
Formally second.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Agreed? Good, thank you very much. Third item is to receive declarations of interest. I think we may have a couple because there's an item for governor's appointments, but I think most people have dispensations anyway. So I'll start with Liz.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I got dispensation to speak and vote, both because I'm a local authority governor at St Cyrus Comprehensive, and also because members of my family attend Ysgol St Barrack. But as I said, I do have dispensation to speak and vote.
Okay, Catherine.
Thank you, Leader. I have dispensation to speak and vote as one of my children attends Stanwell, which was part of the governing appointments that we made. Also from my other son who's in Victoria, but that wasn't relevant to this particular round of governors.
Okay, Margaret.
I have dispensation. I am a governor on the Colquitt School and I have grandchildren in Carrickston and Wenvo, but that wasn't on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, Ben.
Thank you, Leader. This also relates to the local government appointment reference. I'm a LEA governor at Evenlode in Penarth and also St Cyrus, and I have dispensation to speak and vote.
Okay, Eddie.
Thank you, Leader. This is related to Agenda 5, the governors. I've got dispensation to speak and vote. I'm an LEA governor for Lantern Major Comprehensive. Thank you.
Okay, and in my case, I have a grandchild at All Saints Church in Wales Primary School. But in fairness to all those dispensations, there's no direct link to any of the schools anyway. But I have a dispensation. Okay, let's move on. The next item is Cardiff Bay Advisory Committee on the 3rd of September. The minutes are before you. I think Liz, you were present.
Thank you. Just juggling microphones and things. Yes, I'm a member of that advisory committee. These minutes are traditionally brought to us to note. It's always a wide-ranging and very interesting conversation, and the contents of which are laid out within the report. So I would therefore move we note. Okay,
is that agreed? I think there's some interesting comment in there, but for noting. Next item is the local authority governor appointment panel on the 24th of September. Liz, I think you chaired this meeting, so and I know there were some dispensations. So there were some people who left and came back in after some of the meetings, but they're all within the report itself. So do you want to present this, please?
Yes, thanks, Leader. I think it's all laid out in the report. A wide number of vacancies on governing bodies throughout the Vale, and I think for the first time that I can remember, we actually have appointed governors to every single vacancy, including 2 that came up in the interim. And I would like to put on record my huge thanks to everybody that's put themselves forward to be appointed as governors, because governing bodies play a huge role in the success of our schools. We're very, very fortunate to have very good schools in the Vale of Glamorgan, but part of that is due to the commitment and the amount of time spent by governors. So the appointments are there. It's for us to agree the recommendations of the appointments panel.
Okay, I think that's fairly straightforward. You're right. It's good that people put themselves forward, especially now as we don't have any vacancies. Excellent news. You formally move, I'll formally second. Is that agreed? Good. Thank you very much. In that case, I'll take you to agenda item 6, which is the annual delivery plan monitoring report for Q1. This is the only report I have today. It's to present Q1 performance results for the period 1st of April 2020 to the 30th of June in delivering the annual delivery commitments aligned to our corporate plan and wellbeing objectives. There's one alteration I'd like to make, and that's a responsible officer. It says it here is Paul Ham, Director of Learning Skills. I think it really should be Rob Thomas, Managing Director. So if we can make that adjustment, please. This is the first quarter, so there's not a lot to present in some respects, although I have to say it's been done during the worst quarter that I can possibly imagine during a pandemic. So the report actually presents our progress at Q1 towards achieving our annual delivery plan and commitments against aligned to our corporate plan. Despite the significant challenges of COVID-19, and they have been massive, which was at its height actually in this first quarter, we've made positive progress. And overall, we have an amber status for the plan at Q1. All 4 corporate plan wellbeing objectives were attributed an amber. This gives a positive area to the unprecedented challenges of COVID. I wasn't sure we would be in some of the red areas, but I have to say the officers have done a superb job during what is the most difficult times. 65%, that is 149 of 28 planned activities, attributed a green performance, reflecting the positive progress made. 20%, 47 of the planned activities were given a red status, and that's not surprising in some respect. Of the 47 that had a red performance, 70%, 33, were directly as a result of service reprioritization measures taken in response to COVID-19. And where appropriate, work is now recommencing along service reviews, which will inform our recovery plan and strategy going forward, and that will be reported in Q2. Of the 43 quarterly performance measures aligned to our corporate plan well-being objectives, there was 34 measures where performance status was applicable. 70%, that's 24, were attributed green, which I think is amazing, to be honest. 3%, which is 1, was allocated an amber status, and 27%, which is 9, a red status. Data was unavailable for 9 quarterly measures due to the reprioritization measures undertaken in response to the impact of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. A performance status was not applicable for 121 measures, including a number of the annual indicators, 104 of them, and those established baselines performance for the year were 8. In relation to the 9 measures attributable to be red, the impact of COVID-19 has contributed to missed targets. These reports have also been to all 5 scrutiny committees who have reviewed the Q1 performance reports and have noted the performance and progress to date. The report seeks the Cabinet's consideration of the views and recommendations of scrutiny committees, and they're found in the report at 214 and 217. And I should point out that one of the things they ask for is that we consider having some snapshots, if you want, to some of it. But I would note that in each section of the report, and you can see that throughout the report, there is a snapshot of performance and highlighted and there's highlights on what we have done well and actually what we need to improve upon. So I take the point of the scrutiny committee. They've had the report. We gave them the report in relation to the whole of the performance figures, and clearly they would like to see those highlighted, which have direct relevance to their own areas. In addition to considering scrutiny's considerations, we're also asked to request to note the overall service performance results to date and progress made to achieving the priorities in our annual delivery plan 2020-2021. But as I say, this is Q1, The report is before you. I don't intend to go through it because I did give some of the highlights in terms of that. In terms of the recommendations, can I go forward and ask that Cabinet note the contents of the report, having considered the Q1 performance results and progress towards achieving the Annual Delivery Plan 2020-21 commitments as aligned to our corporate plan wellbeing objectives and presented in the report appendices. The Cabinet notes the views and recommendations of all scrutiny committees in relation to Q1 performance results and approve the identified remedial action as the basis to address areas of underperformance and to tackle the key challenges identified. I think it's fair that it's a comprehensive report. And as we go through the year, this is only Q1, it gets thicker and thicker, and we do more and more of the work. So I think it is reasonable that the Scrutiny Committee have things highlighted in terms of their performance for their particular areas. I don't intend to go into it any further. I don't know if anybody does in relation to their own areas, but I would move those recommendations anyway. I don't know if anybody wants to come in relation to that or not.
I think, Leader, I think that a lot's been discussed previously in scrutiny, so I'm happy to second the report.
Okay, it has been to scrutiny, and in fairness, they tried to pick the bones out of it. But as I said, Q1 was a particularly difficult one, and I think the progress we've made is remarkable anyway. Okay, so if nobody else wants to say anything in relation to that, no, in that case, we'll move on to item 7, which is housing development programme at Hazelwood Road in Barry. I think, Margaret, as a Cabinet member, you are dealing with this one.
Thank you, Leader. This is a Part 1 report, and it brings to the attention of Cabinet a proposal to develop 53 new council homes in Castleland Ward on the land at Hazelwood Road, Barry. We are in the process of requiring the land from the Welsh Government. This is a good outset of a programme, and I think we desperately need new homes. If you look at page 327, it'll tell you, and then onto page 4, it tells you what the what type of houses and bed sitters we need for the Castleland Ward, but not only that, it's for Solly and Caddock. We are surrounded by people wanting to live in those areas, so this building should be helpful for us to encourage people to live in the area they want to. I know there is another report later on in the agenda, and I think we should consider that as well later on in the agenda. Yeah. There is only one recommendation, and that is the Cabinet note the report and consider it in constant with Part 2 report later in the agenda. So that's what I'm asking for, please.
Okay, at this stage, we note the content of the report, and it is, you're right, it's absolutely amazing how many people are on our waiting list in those particular areas. So we're still negotiating the sale of the land with Welsh Government, which is going and looks to be fruitful. But we will deal with the technicalities and the financial status, etc., under Part 2. So yes. Is that agreed?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. The next item is Learning and Culture Youth Service Hire Agreement with Glamorgan Voluntary Services, GVS. And Catherine, you're taking this one, please. Catherine.
Certainly, yes, certainly, Leader. Sorry, I missed my mute button. Yes, this is a report we're bringing forward for Cabinet today in relation to the youth service having a new licence agreement with the GVS in Lantwit. The hire agreement was £10,000 per annum, now 10,500, or will be 10,500 rather. It just goes to show that we can obviously continue to provide a youth service in a lot of our locations, and the building is so well fitted, or suited rather, for this provision. So we've got 2 recommendations today. One, that Cabinet agrees both retrospectively and for the future that the youth service take out the 3-year licence for the use of the CF61 building. And secondly, the authority be given to the monitoring officer, head of legal and democratic services, to negotiate the licence and complete the licence in consultation with the Section 151 officer, Director of Learning and Skills. And the licence refers to the main hall and rooms 1 and 2 of Lantwit Centre. From my own personal point of view, like I just said, I think it's just great to know that we are still offering a provision, an ongoing provision for people who absolutely need it in this location. So I'd ask Cabinet to consider that, please.
Okay, it's good. Any comments from anybody? Eddie?
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yes, the Lantwit were concerned when the building was being handed over. It used to be the youth centre, didn't it? But now it's got much wider use for the benefit of the town residents. I fully support this, and thankfully the provision still continues. So I'll second it.
Good, thank you. I think it's a positive move, and actually just ratifies what's currently happening, but also continue to see that it continues for at least another 3 years, or 3 years from the time of release. Okay, is everybody agreed? Yes.
Agreed.
Good, thank you. The next item is item 8. It's the Vale Glamorgan Gateway Station well tag stage 2 outline business case, and this comes from Councillor King.
Thank you, Leader. I think it's actually number 9, but it's the title is correct. Yeah,
You're right. It's number 9. It's my fault. I apologise.
I think you got the title. The title's the more important.
I can't count.
I'm sure you've already read the executive summary, if not the entire report. And the one thing I would like to add is that this report concerns a possible park and ride rail facility next to junction 34 of the M4, and is not directly connected with any possible with any separate work for any possible road link between junction 34 and the A48. I think that's important to make sure that it's clear that they are seen as two separate things. And before I come to the actual recommendations, I would like to comment that the next step of work is substantially the responsibility of the rail authorities, and to do their equivalent of a WellTag report, a governance for railway investment projects, or GRIP report, because I don't think the way this is presented we actually explained what the acronym meant. And so, having said that, I would draw to your attention the recommendations, which I now seem to have put on another page. Nope, there we go. The progress made on the Vale of Glamorgan Gateway Station WellTag Stage 2 outline business case, the appendix, relating to the process for the new railway station in the Vale of Glamorgan located near to junction 34 is noted. Then that the matter is referred to scrutiny, environment and regeneration for their consideration, and then that subject to consideration by scrutiny committee, the progression to the full WellTag Stage 2 study and accompanying GRIP Transport for Wales Stages A and B studies for the Vale of Glamorgan Gateway Station is endorsed.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I would formally second it. I think it's important to realise that this is an ongoing situation where we're talking about different locations, but hopefully for the same purpose of a railway station, a gateway into the Vale, and also into some of the other areas too. So it is, at this stage, it is a proposal. It's going to scrutiny committee, and if they agree, we can continue with it. If not, we'll come back to deal with it another day. So it's the early stage, really, as part of the process. As you said, very similar to WellTag. So I formally second it, and we'll see what scrutiny has to say about it too.
Thank you.
Is that agreed? Yes. Good, thank you. Then we come to item 10, which is the objections report in terms of Cosmeston Country Park car park, Porthcurry Country Park car park, Wyndham Street car park, and Barry Town Hall car park, Cowbridge, and proposed introduction of car park charging. Again, Peter, I think this one is yours.
Thank you. I think it is important to note that this report is part of the legal process towards the introduction of parking charges at several locations within the council. And it's important to note that we have no intention of implementing such charges until local restrictions in connection with coronavirus are lifted. Moreover, that they would not be implemented until the work to mitigate possible displacement parking is in place. That said, the report enumerates the respondents and the themes they raised objections about. It also provides responses to each. I believe that they are adequately addressed, and I ask you to reject them. And then, specifically turning to the recommendations, I'm asking that the Cabinet rejects the objections for the reasons contained in the report, and the car parking charges be implemented as follows. Porthcurry Country Park as soon as the ticket machines are available, unless the COVID-19 restrictions are still in place, in which case...
Have I lost him or have I lost everybody?
I think it's just Peter. Do you want me to carry on because it covers my area as well?
You can, yeah. I think we've just lost Peter, but he was in the process of moving the recommendations. So do you want to start the recommendations again, please, Liz?
Yeah, so the recommendations are firstly that Cabinet reject the objections for the reasons contained in this report and the car parking charges be implemented as follows. Porthcurry Country Park, as soon as ticket machines are available, unless the COVID-19 restrictions are still in place, in which case charges will not be implemented until the local restrictions have been lifted. Cosmeston Country Park, in conjunction with the controls for displacement parking, but will not be implemented until the local restrictions have been lifted. And Wyndham Street Car Park and Cowbridge Town Hall Car Park on 1st of April 2021, unless the COVID-19 restrictions are still in place, in which case charges will not be implemented until the local restrictions have been lifted. And 2, that the objectors be advised of this decision. I'd also like to add in that I think at the moment, while we have increased local restrictions, the only people that should be in our country parks are Vale residents, and it's always been our intention to protect them as much as possible and minimise any impact on them. So it would be absolutely the wrong thing to do to bring in the charges in during this period. So until local restrictions have gone, we won't be implementing those charges. But so those are the recommendations, and Peter's back, so he can so move if he wishes.
Peter, I know we lost you.
I don't know where. I hope I explained it all before I got cut off.
Yes, it's all right. And
yes,
I did.
Yes, you did. And Liz has moved the recommendations. I know Ben wants to come in, and I want to just add something at the end too. Ben, do you want to come in now, please?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I like others on the Cabinet have had a number of people get in touch to discuss this report, to discuss the idea of parking charges. And I think it's important to underline the fact that the issue of whether or not to bring in charges was covered and scrutinised and debated within the council. And as Peter alluded to, this is the legal process of bringing those charges in. Now, I am comfortable that the effects, as far as they're objected to, have been mitigated by the use of bringing in local parking restrictions when it comes to displacement parking at Cosmeston, and the fact we won't bring in charges till they're in place, but also recognising that COVID is affecting our abilities, and making sure people can get out and exercise locally, and not bringing in these restrictions, these charges until such time as these restrictions are lifted. So I'm happy to second these objection reports recommendations. Like I say, I feel comfortable that we have considered the objections insofar as we are looking at how they're implemented, and I think that the way we're looking to implement is sensible.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think it was always the case that a lot of these objections came in before we finalised what we were doing. I think it's important to reiterate that the charging policy was debated fully. It went through scrutiny committees, and all the scrutiny committees agreed it, and we agreed it then as a cabinet. One of the things that happened was that people were throwing in objections, which was fine, but what they failed to remember is that we promised that we would also put into place parking restrictions in terms of who could park where and whether or not we introduce a resident parking scheme, and that is currently underway. And that's particularly important in terms of Porthkerry and also in terms of Cosmoston in particular. Because one of the things in terms of Cosmoston is that there were issues in terms of people parking in there, and we were aware of that, but we're not going to charge until those things are in place, should the residents want resident parking, etc. It's also important to remember that this doesn't cover areas like Barry Island, where there are currently charges in place. That is also going to be covered by the parking restrictions which are currently ongoing, as indeed it is also in Ogmore and Penarth. So this particularly talks about those areas within this report only, but it does actually say we will not be introducing them until those areas in Cosmoston are dealt with in terms of parking for residents, and also in terms of the fact that we will not be introducing it until COVID-19 is lockdown restrictions have gone away. We've always made that plain. It just so happens we started this process before COVID-19. This is just the process to get it through to the end. And I think it needs to be made plain. That is why we're doing it. We're not doing it underhand. We're keeping it in the open. Everything's transparent, and we promised to do what we said we would do, and we are doing it. So I think we just need to make it plain, that's all. So recommendations are before you. I think everybody has had a chance to speak if they want to. So we agree that we reject those objections through the mitigation of all the officers' comments within the report, and that the objectors be advised of this decision. Yes? Okay, thank you very much. Next item is any items I have decided urgent under part 1. I don't have any. And before I go, there is an item under part 2, which is the second part for the housing development programme for Hazelwood Road. So we have that one item for discussion under part 2. As there are matters that are considered commercially sensitive, we will have to move into private session where confidential matters can be discussed under part 2 with Cabinet colleagues. Therefore, myself and the Cabinet Officer will ensure that the recording is closed at this point, and will ensure that only relevant parties remain to hear the detail of the items to be discussed. However, following the meeting, the outcome of the part 2 discussions will be formally captured as part of the minutes of the meeting, advising all parties of the final decision of Cabinet for this item. It's something we would normally do when we would be in sessions personally. We would ask members who are not members of the Cabinet or Council to leave the room. So basically, we have to do it in terms of recording this meeting. So I will be asking that the Cabinet Officer ceases recording, and we will record what is decided under part 2. I only have the one item, the housing development programme for Hazelwood Road, Barry. So at that, can I thank you for your attendance at part 1, and I will see you later under part 2.